Number 1.
King was last seen in the 4000 block of Hilldale Avenue in Oroville, California, sometime between 11:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. on March 26, 2013. He has never been heard from again. 3 years before King's disappearance, he received a $30,000 legal settlement and used the money to leave his native Texas and traveled to California. He and 2 friends purchased a house and 12 acres of land to grow marijuana. The business soon expanded and became highly profitable, but he kept his source of income a secret from his family in Texas. One of the contacts King made as a result of his marijuana sales was Donald Edward Cheatham Jr., who owned a business called Amazon Garden Supply. In the spring of 2013, the 2 men struck a deal where Cheatham would buy some property on Old Olive Highway from King in exchange for 160 pounds of marijuana. King had given him half the amount by the time of his disappearance but complained to his girlfriend that Cheatham was not holding up his end of the deal and he thought Cheatham was stealing from him. He said he would never do business with Cheatham again. A photo of Cheatham is posted with this case summary. On the day he went missing, King went to have a meeting with Cheatham. His girlfriend became concerned when he didn't return home by evening and drove to Cheatham's house. When she saw King's pickup truck parked out front, she assumed he must be there and went home again. The next day, when King still hadn't arrived home, his girlfriend returned to Cheatham's house. King's vehicle was still parked in the same spot. When she knocked on the door, Cheatham refused to come to the door. He spoke to her through the wall and said King wasn't there and he hadn't seen him all day and that he was looking for him too. King's girlfriend didn't report him missing until March 29 because she thought he might have been arrested. Since his disappearance, there hasn't been any activity on his cellular phone or bank accounts. An examination of his truck turned up no clues. When questioned by police, Cheatham said he and King had conducted a business transaction in Berry Creek and after that he dropped King off in a remote area at Oro Quincy Highway and never saw him again. Authorities were suspicious of his story and searched Cheatham's residence, finding a stolen gun, 120 pounds of marijuana and $59,000 in cash. Cheatham and his wife were charged with receiving stolen property, cultivating marijuana and possessing it for sale. None of the charges were related to King's actual disappearance. In March 2014, the charges against Cheatham's wife were dismissed, and he himself was acquitted of everything except one misdemeanor count of marijuana possession. Cheatham had an authorization to use marijuana for medical purposes, but wasn't allowed to have more than an ounce at a time. Cheatham has been named as a person of interest in King's case. However, in November 2019, he and another man were shot to death in Klamath Falls, Oregon, and a third man was injured. Jillian Bradley has been charged with second-degree murder, attempted murder and other offenses in connection with the shooting. Foul play is suspected in King's disappearance, and authorities believe his drug involvement was a factor.
Number 2.
Melinda Karen Creech, age 13, disappeared from Anderson, Indiana. On September 5, 1979, Melinda, also known as Mindy, was taken to a juvenile facility called Blake House, also referred to as the Old Blake House or Blake Home, after being caught trying to steal motorcycles from a local dealership. She was picked up with at least one juvenile male. Melinda's mother, who suffered from some type of dementia, later told Melinda's siblings that Melinda had run away from the Blake House and was missing. There is no other known report to substantiate that she ran away. One would think that if a child went missing from government custody, that they, much more than your average family, would have easy access to media coverage, law enforcement resources, etc., and that a search would have ensued. After all, the government was responsible for the welfare of this child. I was unable to find even the slightest mention in the local newspaper, however, of her being missing. Some time after Melinda's siblings were told that Melinda had run away from the Blake home, their mother told them that the remains of a girl found in New Jersey had been identified as Melinda. For this reason, nobody ever filed a missing persons report on her. Melinda's siblings believed what they were told at the time, although they did find it odd that no funeral service was held for her. As a result, there was no activity on her case for several years. When Melinda's mother died and her children began sorting through her things, they found things that were highly suspicious, most notably an official letter addressed to Melinda's mother claiming that the remains found in New Jersey had been ruled out as being Melinda. Why their mother had lied to them about this is one of the biggest mysteries. On further inspection of their mother's belongings, they found a letter from the court scheduling a session for the parents to meet with Melinda, and the letter advised that they could retain an attorney to represent Melinda if they chose to, at their own expense. Strangely, This letter was dated after Melinda supposedly ran away. These discoveries led her siblings to report her missing and to try to find out what really did happen to their sister. Did her mother show up at that court session? Was Melinda present? Because her mother did suffer from dementia and was reportedly abusive, there has been speculation that her mother may have harmed her or that she may have signed away her parental rights. That leaves me with this question. Why would her mother have inquired about the Jane Doe in New Jersey if she didn't believe Melinda was missing? She would have known it would come back not a match, and she didn't show the letter to her children, which rules out the idea that she may have wanted it to appear that she was concerned and searching for Melinda. Melinda's siblings have been met with nothing but brick walls in trying to access information on Melinda's last known movements within the justice system, and this is where the government negligence comes in. Remember that we are dealing with a juvenile child that has been missing for over 30 years now. There are simple questions about her last known whereabouts that the government has the answers to, yet the government, who was responsible for her safety, refuses to answer them. Some have claimed they don't have records back that far. Really, others say the information is confidential due to her being an adult. Show us proof that she actually lived to be an adult, most just don't respond at all. In 2004, police reopened Melinda's missing persons case. They are currently tracking down and interviewing her old friends to see if any of them have heard from her. They do not know why Shirley lied to her family about Melinda's supposed death. Shirley had suffered from dementia for years prior to her passing, and perhaps she was simply confused. Melinda's siblings have described her as an extremely abusive parent. There has been no activity on Melinda's social security number since 1979. Her father is now also deceased.
Number 3.
Declan and his mother, Brittany, originally disappeared from Columbus, Ohio. They were traveling in a white 2007 Nissan Versa with the Georgia license plate number bug 16859 and were last known to be in the Hardin, Montana area. When Declan was born, Brittany was living with the baby's father in Georgia. In mid-April 2015, she called the police at 3:30 a.m. and claimed Declan's father was abusing him. The police responded to the home and advised Brittany to take the baby and stay elsewhere for the night. She agreed to go to a hotel. Instead, she traveled to Ohio, where her mother lived. Brittany contacted her mother while en route to Ohio and said the government was after her and she had to get away. When she arrived, she accused her stepfather of abusing her younger sister. Brittany's mother and brother thought she was suffering from some kind of mental illness and took her to the hospital. She was admitted to the psychiatric ward of the local hospital. Declan's father went to Ohio and tried to visit her, but she refused to see him. On April 19, after 3 days in the hospital, Brittany was released from the hospital and went to stay with her brother. A few days later, when her brother woke up, Brittany and Declan were both gone. She said she was going out to get some food and never returned. Her family reported her missing on May 7. On May 14, a police officer in Indiana helped Brittany change a tire. On May 16, Brittany called her brother from Iowa and asked for $10,000. On May 17, her car was found abandoned on the side of the highway between Billings, Montana and Sheridan, Wyoming. All her belongings, including her medication and Declan's car seat, were inside it. There has been no indication of Brittany or Declan's whereabouts since her car was found abandoned. The circumstances of their disappearances are unclear. Columbus, Ohio police are investigating.
Number 4.
Cupca was last seen leaving her home in the 200 block of Westminster Avenue in the New York City borough of Brooklyn on October 24, 1998, at approximately 12:30 p.m. Her roommate said that Cupca's boyfriend, Darshan and Rudy Persaud, arrived at their house shortly beforehand. Persaud seemed nervous, according to her roommate. A photo of Persaud is posted with this case summary. Cupca was 5 months pregnant with his child at the time of her disappearance. She left a message on her sister's answering machine before she and Persaud left, saying that she was going to view his new apartment in the borough of Queens and would return home shortly. Cupca has never been heard from again. She did not have a coat, any personal belongings or very much money on her when she disappeared. Persaud and Cupca had a troubled relationship. He was her adjunct chemistry instructor at Barrett College in New York City, where she majored in philosophy. They began dating shortly after she completed his class and continued their relationship for 5 months. Cupca became pregnant unexpectedly and told friends Persaud was not supportive of the pregnancy and had begged her to have an abortion. Her loved ones stated that she seemed frightened he would hurt her or their child, although she never stated he had threatened her. As it turned out, Perso was married and reportedly only told Cupca of his marital status after she learned about her pregnancy. He was not married at the time the infant was conceived. He initially denied that he could be the baby's father, claiming he had had a partial vasectomy, but eventually backed down from that assertion. According to Cupca's family and friends, Perso was angry and scared, telling Cupca his family would disown him if she carried their baby to term. He is a Guyanese immigrant and his father is a Hindu priest. Cupca was looking forward to becoming a single mother and is described as an intelligent and strong-willed person. She had a 3.97 grade point average at Berich College, founded the school's philosophy club, and planned to attend law school and become a civil rights attorney, focusing on women's issues. Cupca supported herself by working as a server at a Jamaican restaurant in 1998 and lived frugally with 5 roommates. She had $7,000 in her savings account. She was due to graduate from Berich College in January 1999. She missed her midterm examinations after her disappearance, as well as appointments with her midwife. Cupca allegedly spoke to Perso's wife via telephone several times before she disappeared. According to her loved ones, Cupca said that she reached his wife after attempting to page Perso. Cupca told his wife she did not want to disrupt the family, but she wanted Perso to be a part of their child's life and said that she worried about the baby's emotional well-being if it did not have a relationship with both parents. According to Cupca, Perso's wife became angry at him after learning about Cupca's pregnancy. Cupca intended to name Perso as the father on their child's birth certificate. She also planned to ask him for financial support for the baby if it became necessary. Perso and Cupca's relationship cooled for a time, but he resurfaced in Cupca's life shortly before her October 1998 disappearance. Cupca told friends he appeared on her doorstep and claimed his wife had thrown him out of the house and he was staying with a cousin. It is not clear whether Cupca believed Perso's story, but she told her family that she encouraged him to reconcile with his wife. Perso apparently became more supportive of the pregnancy at the time, suggesting names for the baby and offering to be the birthing coach, which confused Cupca given his earlier attitude. The reason behind Perso's visit to Cupca's house on October 24 is not clear. Her loved ones stated that Cupca believed she was going to view his new apartment, while Perso maintained that he was driving her to a nearby shopping mall. Cupca's family was alerted to her disappearance by her roommate, who became concerned Cupca failed to return to her residence that evening. Cupca's family located Perso's home and confronted him about Cupca's whereabouts. Perso's mother alerted her son to the family's arrival, and the police were called to prevent an altercation in case an incident arose. Perso told the family members that he drove Cupca to a shopping center, then waited in his car for her to return from shopping. Perso claimed that he dropped Cupca off 2 blocks from her home between 3 o'clock and 4 p.m. as she wanted to walk to a nearby health food store. When Cupca's family asked him which shopping mall he had taken her to, he said he did not know and he had stayed in the car while she shopped. Cupca's loved ones then questioned people in the neighborhood. A laundromat owner said he thought he had seen her walking past the establishment, and the proprietor of an area health food store said she might have seen her at approximately 7 p.m. the day of her disappearance. Later, the health food store owner changed her mind and decided the woman she saw was not Cupca, since the woman was wearing peach-colored pants, which Cupca did not own. Authorities have questioned Perso just once, shortly after Cupca's disappearance. He hired an attorney a few days later and has not granted any further interviews. The Cupca family has since employed a private investigator and continues to publicize her case. The investigator has stated publicly that he believes Perso was involved in her disappearance. Perso has never been charged in connection with Cupca's case, and he maintains his innocence. Authorities have said that he was cooperative during his single interview, but have also mentioned that he did not have an alibi for the time Cupca vanished, and they felt he was evasive at times during the questioning. Detectives have stated that there is little in the way of physical evidence to prove what happened to Cupca and nothing linking Perso to her disappearance beyond motive, but they believe she was the victim of a homicide. In 2010, police began digging up the basement floor of a shop once owned by one of Perso's relatives. One section of the concrete was not like the others, and a cadaver-sniffing dog indicated the presence of human remains. Nothing was found in the search, however. Cupca is a native of Madison, Wisconsin, and a graduate of Malcolm Shabazz High School, an alternative school. She attended the University of Wisconsin prior to moving to New York City, but dropped out of there and later re-enrolled at Berich College. She has also lived in Atlanta, Georgia. Her case remains unsolved.
Number 5.
Smart was a freshman architecture major at California Polytechnic State University, Cal Poly, in San Luis Obispo, California in 1996. She departed from an off-campus party and headed for her dormitory at approximately 1:30 and 2 a.m. on May 25, 1996. At the party, Smart was acting as if she was intoxicated or under the influence of drugs. When she left the gathering, she was having trouble walking. Smart was accompanied by a female acquaintance and another student from the university, Paul R. Flores, when she left the party. Photos of Flores are posted with this case summary. He was a food science major at Cal Poly in 1996. Smart apparently met Flores at the party earlier in the evening. Her friend separated from Smart and Flores at the intersection of Perimeter Road and Grand Avenue on the college campus. Flores allegedly told Smart's friend that he would see Smart to her home. She was last seen walking north on Grand Avenue with Flores towards Muir Hall, her dormitory. Smart has never been heard from again. She was not carrying any identification, cash or personal belongings at the time she vanished. Flores was reportedly seen with a black eye later in the day on May 25. When questioned about Smart's whereabouts by authorities, Flores claimed that he continued walking to his own dormitory and last saw Smart on Grand Avenue shortly after her other friend departed. Flores told several different stories to law enforcement regarding how he received his injury. At one time he claimed he had hurt his eye playing basketball with a friend, but the friend told authorities Flores had had the bruise when he arrived at the game. When confronted with the lie, Flores changed his story and told police he had hurt his eye while working on a truck at his father's home. He allegedly told another friend that he did not know how he got the black eye and that he just woke up with it. Smart's roommate contacted police later in the morning of May 25, worried because Smart had not returned to her dormitory. The roommate had been at the room the night Smart was last seen and never saw her get back home. Her clothing, toiletries, cosmetics, medicine and identification were left undisturbed in her room. There is no evidence that she made it back there. Authorities refused to take the missing persons report for 4 days because Smart disappeared on Memorial Day weekend and college students often take impromptu vacations at that time. Smart's parents have criticized authorities for not getting involved in the case sooner, saying they probably lost valuable evidence because of it. Police admit the delay hampered the investigation. Flores dropped out of Cal Poly shortly after Smart disappeared. He had been making very poor grades and was in danger of failing out of the university, and he had also gotten arrested for driving while intoxicated and lost his driver's license. He removed his belongings from his dormitory room at Santa Lucia Hall prior to a search of the premises by law enforcement. Cadaver dogs utilized by authorities led them to Flores's mattress in his former room during the investigation, but no additional evidence was located at the time. Investigators have repeatedly questioned Flores regarding Smart's case since 1996, but he has invoked his Fifth Amendment rights and refused to answer. They offered him a plea deal where he would plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter and reveal the location of Smart's body in exchange for a 6-year prison term, but he refused the offer. Flores is the prime and only suspect in Smart's disappearance, but authorities do not have enough evidence at their disposal to charge him in the case. The Smart family has persisted in their efforts to get investigators to come up with evidence against Flores. A friend of the Smarts, Dennis Mahon, has published a website which gives Flores's address and tracks him whenever he changes residences. The Flores family has a restraining order against him, and he was jailed at least once for violating it. In 2005, Flores's mother and her boyfriend sued Smart's parents and Mahon, alleging harassment, severe emotional distress and lost income as a result of their behavior. Smart's case is open and unsolved. Her family held a memorial service for her in May 2001 and again in June 2003. She was declared dead in May 2002. Smart's family attempted to pursue a civil suit against Flores for Smart's wrongful death, but dropped the case in 1996 after Flores pleaded his Fifth Amendment rights during the proceedings. Smart's family has since revived the suit, which has yet to go to trial. They continue to place pressure on Flores to speak to authorities regarding any possible knowledge he may have about their daughter's disappearance. Flores has no record of violent crimes but has been charged with drunk driving 3 times since Smart disappeared, in addition to the charge from before she vanished. People who knew him while he was a student at Cal Poly stated he drank heavily in 1996 and had a tendency to become obnoxious when intoxicated and that he was not popular with the other students. In 2003, suggestions were made that Scott Peterson might be linked to Smart. Scott Peterson's wife, Lacey, disappeared on Christmas Eve 2002, and her torso was found in the Pacific Ocean in May 2003. Scott was later convicted of murdering her. Both Lacey and Scott Peterson attended Cal Poly. They were seniors at the school when Smart disappeared. Police investigated possible ties between Scott Peterson and Smart and announced that there was nothing to link him to Smart's disappearance. Smart is described as friendly and generous. She is a competitive swimmer and had traveled to many places, including Hawaii and South America, prior to her disappearance. She had originally enrolled at the University of California at Santa Barbara but transferred to Cal Poly early in her freshman year. Her case remains unsolved. Foul play is suspected due to the circumstances involved.
Number 6.
Krebs departed from place of employment, Round Table Pizza, on August 9, 1993, in Fort Bragg, California. She never arrived at her family's residence and has not been heard from again. Krebs' red Toyota Tercel was discovered abandoned in a shallow creek in McCarricher State Park shortly after her disappearance. Her wallet, driver's license, bra and panties were found inside her car, but there was no sign of her at the scene. The car stereo was missing from her vehicle at the time of its discovery. A woman matching Krebs' description was seen hitchhiking along Highway 20 out of Fort Bragg shortly after her disappearance. Authorities have been unable to confirm if the individual was Krebs. Krebs had been receiving medical treatment at the time of her disappearance for emotional difficulties. She experienced an eerily similar incident involving her car becoming stuck in an area near her home in May 1990, 3 years prior to her disappearance. That previous situation apparently served as the catalyst for a psychotic breakdown Krebs experienced. She was hospitalized multiple times over the next 6 months and was under medical supervision. Her therapists advised her to go back to work, but only part-time. Krebs did well, so she increased her work hours at Round Table Pizza and took a second job at a fast food restaurant. She was working 10 or 12 hours a day as a result. It is possible that Krebs overloaded herself with stress and became disoriented when her vehicle became trapped the night she vanished. Krebs had wandered away from her car during the previous incident and was discovered by passers-by shortly after leaving the scene. She was disoriented and required medical attention at the time. It is possible that similar circumstances occurred when her vehicle became trapped prior to her disappearance. A driver told authorities that she picked up a hitchhiker who matched Krebs' description later in August 1993. The driver said that she met the hitchhiker in Salt Lake City, Utah, and dropped her off at a McDonald's restaurant in Park City, Utah. The driver said that her passenger was in a state of euphoria at the time. Authorities are not certain if the unidentified woman was Krebs, but it is possible that she is hitchhiking in Utah, California, Nevada and Texas. Foul play is possible in her case.
Number 7.
Donna was last seen in Weaverville, California on November 10, 1980. She had been kept home from school that day for unspecified reasons and told her grandfather she was running away from home. He believed she was only pretending and helped her pack her bags. Donna disappeared afterwards. She was last seen near the Joss House Historical Museum on Main Street downtown at 2:30 p.m. Her mother reported her disappearance to police at 11:30 p.m. In October 2008, Wayne Harvey Smith confessed to Donna's murder. He lived near her home and had known her family for years. He was a suspect in her case from the beginning, but he left the county a few days after her disappearance, and investigators never had enough evidence to file charges. Smith is presently serving a life sentence for another murder. He robbed and killed a young woman in Los Angeles, California in 1985. He agreed to discuss Donna's case as part of a plea deal for an unrelated third homicide, the shooting death of a Los Angeles teen in 1983. Smith said Donna went to visit his house and refused to leave, and he became angry and strangled her. He stated he disposed of her body in the local landfill. In exchange for his confession, Smith won't face the death penalty in the 1983 case. Investigators think it's possible he was responsible for more deaths than he admits to. Smith will not face charges in Donna's presumed death, as he is already in prison for life. Investigators stated they would not attempt to recover her body because she's been missing so long it would be difficult or impossible to find her remains in the landfill. In the aftermath of Smith's confession, Donna's family prepared to hold a memorial service for her. Her case is now considered closed, but her remains have never been found.